Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andy Dorsey, and I experience generalized anxiety disorder. General anxiety disorder, otherwise known as GAD, is a disorder in which you experience anxiety every day and or just this growing sort of fear throughout the day, and it affects everything that you do in your daily life. If you asked me to say that I had general anxiety disorder a couple years ago, um, I would have denied it. However, standing in front of you today, um, I am confident to say that I experience general anxiety disorder. I want to begin talking about my story. It begins in my 8th grade year, in which I began to feel this anxiety. 8th grade year is a year in which a lot of people go through a lot of different things. You slowly gain more responsibilities, you become an adult, and everyone around you goes through their own struggles. However, in my 8th grade year, I experienced something that I had never experienced before. It showed in the form of migraines. Migraines in which that it was so powerful that I felt like I couldn't do anything but just sit in the pain that my head was causing. It was a pain that I had felt like no other. It affected everything that I did in my daily life, whether it be just like going to the store or going to school. The school part of it, I began missing a lot of classes. I would miss like classes in a week and then go the next few days and then continue to miss the following week. It was a difficult time because I didn't know how to talk about it to my parents or to my peers around me. During this time, I also fell behind in school. It was to the point where I began failing assignments just because I didn't turn them in, because the migraines caused me just severe pain, and I just continue to fall behind. This, of course, caused more anxiety in my life, and I slowly but surely fell further and further behind. It felt as though I couldn't attend school, because if I did, I'd just be so much further behind than the rest of my peers. I didn't know how to talk to my teachers about it, nor my friends, so I just felt like there was nothing I could do. Of course, it's completely irrational to feel like this, but like try telling that to a 14-year-old. So eventually I got my act together and just continued to chip away towards this work. I didn't address any of the problems I was facing. However, I did get through it. Eventually, high school rolled around. Freshman year, I had always looked forward to it because there was a place that I could reset, a place where I could start anew with my friends but didn't have any of my past struggles. This, of course, wouldn't end up working, but I thought it was a great idea. Just start and go and never look back to my past struggles. However, I slowly began to realize that this was not going to work. I had put myself so far into the deep end, just throwing myself at my studies and sports and extracurriculars, that eventually, after one small issue, I began to struggle. Whether it be a test here or an upcoming project, I'd procrastinate and I'd only get more and more anxiety. I began to start failing my classes one by one. I'd stop doing the work for it as I worried about what my teachers would say. I began worrying about what my friends would say, as they had always been high achievers all their life. If they knew that I was struggling on an assignment, how was I going to tell them when they all had perfect A's? So, like 8th grade, I began to miss a lot of school. I missed class here, a day here, and slowly but surely that compounded into missing weeks at a time. I didn't know how to talk to anyone about it, my parents especially. I didn't know that if they would understand what I was going through, let alone how to talk to them about how I felt. So let me bring you into a day of my life during that time. I'd wake up, frozen in fear from the day ahead. I was so stuck in my own fear that I couldn't leave my bed. I ended up missing a lot of those days, and during those days, I found solace in photography. I would take pictures of everything around me, ignoring all of my problems that faced me ahead. And so that is what a lot of my days look like at the time. Just wake up frozen in fear and then find solace in just this one activity. Eventually, I ended up failing a lot of my classes during that freshman year. As sophomore year rolled around, enough was enough, and eventually I went to Summit Achievement, a wilderness program in Stone, Maine, in which I would backpack 4 days out of the week and then do online school 3 of those days. It was a lot during that time. I felt like I was betrayed by my family and like I couldn't go anywhere else. I didn't know how to talk about my emotions, and it felt as though I was alone. However, I started learning from the peers around me about their own struggles and what they did to overcome them and to incorporate their struggles into their daily life. I talked to a therapist and began to understand my emotions better than I ever had before. I slowly but surely learned what mental health was, and I categorized it into these 3 sections as many people have done before. We have emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Emotionally, I began trying to be more present in the moment, trying to just center myself in the very moment and see what challenges laid ahead. During the Summit Achievement, during the wilderness therapy, I focused on the backpacking ahead of me, whether it was one step at a time or just like, where am I going camp for the night? Physically, then, it was the backpacking, and as time went on, I focused myself back into baseball. I'd always enjoyed it, but I had lost the joy for it as my anxiety grew. And spiritually, for me, I strengthened my faith in God and Jesus. It doesn't have to be for you, but that is where I found my spiritual happiness and guided purpose in life. So as Summit Achievement came to an end, I began continuing my struggles and my success. I started out at a small private school in Massachusetts and set my goal towards returning to my old high school. It was difficult at first, but I remembered all the things I had learned from the wilderness therapy, how to just take one step at a time, and used all of the mechanisms that I had learned previously. And eventually, as time went on, I did return to my old high school. And through there, I applied to colleges like everyone else and felt like I was back on track to where I had always wanted to be. During that time, I applied to Bryant University and fell in love with it as I originally saw it. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but it felt like I had finally been on track again. And it was scary going not abroad, but to university, away from my family, and new challenges lay ahead. I felt as though it was a completely new time, just as freshman year had been. However, it was a time that I had coping mechanisms in my back pocket. As things continued to progress, I still face challenges at Bryant University. However, I am able to use my coping mechanisms and skills to overcome these anxieties and accomplish my work and feel proud of everything that I do. So why do I tell you all this? Well, 4% of the population experience generalized anxiety disorder, and less than half of those people ever receive treatment. I think it's important to talk about it because so many people don't know about mental health, let alone generalized anxiety disorder. I think if we can all talk to each other about it, the world can be a better place for people with mental health. And also, I am still able to accomplish so much even with anxiety disorder. This is my resume. I only put it up here as I am proud of everything that I've done on it. It is a list of things that I can look at and remind myself, I've done this, even if I have struggled in my life. So I leave you today, and thank you all. Years ago, I would say fear controlled my life. However, standing here today, I can confidently say that I control my own fear, and I hope you can too.